Hi, my name is Sequoya, and I wanted to pop on and figure out how we can potentially color together. Um, this is my first time going live, um, so I'm a little nervous for sure, but really glad to be here with you all today, and we will just kind of roll with it and see how things go. As I mentioned, my name is Sequoia and I use she and her pronouns. Um, my hair is doing something a little weird, but it's all good. Um, Yeah, so I'm a social worker and a yoga practitioner, and I wanted to come on for Alaska Black History Month and share a little bit about a few different experiences that I had last summer that tie into Black History Month. I also wanted to share just the practice that I participated in last year with someone that is a mentor in my head. But before we get into all of that, let's see. Hi, Mahogany. I see your comment here. Let's see. How, um, okay. I see your comment, Mahogany. Hi. Um, but I don't know how to put it on the screen. I'm not gonna worry about that right now. Um, yeah, I'm just glad I can at least see some of the things. Anyway, so just kind of getting into the space and connecting more on this topic. Yeah, I want to kind of start off also by grounding and just saying, acknowledging the five elements: air, water, fire, earth, and also spirit or ethers. Um, and yeah, we call that energy in as we practice together. So I will kind of share a little bit of the materials that I have with me here today and how this is going to go. There are three things that I want to share overall. So the first thing is the feminist breathing chorus meditation series that I participated in. I want to talk a little bit about that. I also want to share the oracle cards that came out of that practice. They have different um, Black icons as images. And so, yeah, I think that they will serve as a good place of inspiration for our coloring today. The last thing that I want to do is read a little bit from the Combahee River Collective statement and share a little bit of history around that related to Black lesbian feminism and that movement. And then, yeah, and then we'll end for the day. So let's start with, let's see, where is, ah, this is what I want. So the mentor in my head that I am referring to is Alexis Pauline Guumbs, and she has a few different practices, but there is one called Mobile Homecoming, and her practice is out of Durham, North Carolina, and her and her partner broadcast. Let's see, Mobile Homecoming broadcast different services that are related to Black spirituality. And I think that, yeah, like that is a wonderful resource for anyone that's interested in support around Black spirituality and queerness and the intersections of that. So, what I wanted to share from this was about the Black Feminist Chorus. So I want to pull that up. And also, all of this information is in the description box below. So if you ever want to come back and try to find that information, it's there. Let's see. I'm going to type in Mobile Homecoming, Black Feminist Chorus. Okay, here we go. Come on, come on, come on. Okay. So the Black Feminist Breathing Meditation Chorus was a 21-day meditation series where folks were able to sign up for daily videos that came through. And the videos incorporated collage as well as affirmations and mantras. Um, let's see, and I'll just read this here. Um, yeah, there were meditation recordings, ancestor collages, and one of the reasons why this was really helpful for me during the summer because it aligned a lot with what Alexis mentioned, and I'll just read this. She said, and this is her testimony from her website. Historically, I have been bad at meditating. I turned to meditation as a practice of renewal, but I kept falling asleep even during guided meditations. I found that chanting words in languages I didn't know felt disconnected and appropriative to me. So, as a gift to myself for my 30th birthday, I began to chant the words that were sacred to me, the words of the revolutionary Black ancestors who have informed my practice of Black feminism. Through a daily practice of chanting, I was able to reprogram my breathing, overwrite the oppressive messages that I have internalized from the dominant society, and fill my consciousness and subconscious with the words of those people who dedicated their lives to my freedom. So this spoke to me for a few different reasons. In addition to the meditations aligning with Black ancestors that are either well known, there were some in there that are little known to the community. And so I wanted to connect related to that as well. Um, as she stated, chanting those words every day for 21 days uplifted their spirits, it uplifted the values that they, left here for us. Um, and so, yeah, what that looked like was you would sign into a portal, and every day for 21 days, as I mentioned, there were new affirmations and images related to that particular Black ancestor. It was either Alexis or her partner Sangadore that would be chanting. And if I remember correctly, she would say whatever affirmation was associated with that Black ancestor 108 times, which aligns with yoga and South Asian kind of practices around chanting. And so, yeah, I would listen to that every day. And so that practice, yeah, as I mentioned, was super supportive. Um, so yeah, right now, what I'll do is just kind of share some of the um, materials that I have here. And, those that are present, you can use whatever you have available to you, whatever that looks like. crayons, color pencils, markers. It could be a journal and a pen, at this point. Whatever kind of feels good for you. What I have here, I have got a bunch of stuff, but um, I've got color pencils and I've got some, I know Mahogany likes pastels. I've got a little this way. This way is the camera. A little Tupperware thing of pastels. Um, I've got Sharpie markers over here, but and some paint stuff, but I'm not gonna do that right now. What I'm gonna focus on is one of the materials that I find super easy to revisit related to coloring. I love black paper. So I doodle on black paper and I'll share a little bit with you all. One of the techniques that I really enjoy related to coloring, I have anxious hands, especially during meetings now with all the Zooms and all the links and, the blue light filters. It's kind of manifested as anxious hands during meetings. So either I'll knit during meetings or I'll doodle. And I love a doodling technique called Zentangles. And basically, what that is are different marks on the paper that coordinate with shapes, and you just connect those, in different patterns. And so, this is just something that let's see, I don't really know how to share this. um, This is what my Zentangles usually look like. And I just do different things, different shade. Uh-oh, my finger. Different shades. I'll draw different things and just add them and just continue to layer as I go. Um, Here's another one. I'll move that over there. Here's another one that I started this way. And that's what I'm going to add on today. So what I have is black paper, a white color pencil, and then a blue color pencil. And I usually try to keep it pretty simple because, again, I'm just kind of adding on to different kind of doodles that I've already done before. And so please feel free to definitely do that yourself. Um, yeah, as I mentioned before, like one of the really fun things about the meditation series was learning about little known Black ancestors. And that was really supportive to kind of connect not only their names, but their values to an affirmation. And it primarily, at least for me, reinforced not only those values, but also my identity, right? Like being able to see other Black queer um, kind of positions and values around different themes and topics. And the major themes for each, and I'll go over this when we go through the cards, but the major themes or the lessons that these Black ancestors taught were based on love, light, change, and freedom. So, yeah, I think that really just reinforced that. Mahogany, are you still there? What if you can only draw stick figures or not good at coloring within the lines? Stick figures are cool, like you can always again, just add to it, right? And this is more about fun. It's not about perfection or, things being in the lines. It's more about your creativity and how you're feeling and getting that expression down on paper. So, yeah, it's okay if you can only draw stick figures and not good at coloring in the lines. Like, that's perfectly okay. These kind of opportunities are just for you. It's not something that, you'll necessarily be sharing with folks. And even if you do, whoever you share it with, I'm sure they'll be happy um, that you were at least vulnerable and open to sharing, your creative practice with them. Um, yeah. What else, Mahogany? I appreciate that question. Um, and check in. I don't know what my hair is doing. I feel like it looks weird. Um, so I think what I'll do now then is share a few of the images. How about that? And then we'll see how that helps with getting the creative juices flowing. Um, and let's see. So as I mentioned, the um, Black Feminist Breathing Oracle deck came from the meditation series. And these were the images that were utilized during the meditation. And these are collages. And so, yeah, I'm going to show the image. I'll say the Black ancestor, and I'll also try to coordinate that with each of the affirmations. Okay. So this is what the back of the cards look like. I would imagine that this represents Alexis. Okay. The first person, first Black ancestor we have is Audre Lorde. And her affirmation is, I am who I am, doing what I came to do. The next ancestor is Lorraine Hansberry. Okay. And her affirmation is, we can impose beauty on our future. Claudia Jones, we feel no guilt. The Combahee River Collective, Black women are inherently valuable. Harriet Tubman, my people are free. June Jordan, let's see, I gotta find her. Love is life force. Love is life force. Let's see, the next Black ancestor is Zora Neale Hurston, Drenched in Light. This is one of my, even up until last night, one of my favorite affirmations that I say, especially for protection, drenched in light. And then I end it with pay it no mind. And that's Marsha P. Johnson. But Zora Neale Hurston's affirmation is drenched in light. Bayard Rustin. Let's see. The power of love in the world is the greatest power existing. The power of love in the world is the greatest power existing. Yeah, thanks, Mahogany. I thought so too. Like, it was such an amazing experience. And then when the email came through about the Oracle cards, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. So, yeah. The next Black ancestor is Ida B. Wells, and her affirmation is turn the light of truth upon them. Turn the light of truth upon them. Who's your favorite writer and anthropologist, Mahogany? Was that Zora Neale Hurston? Yeah. Okay. Let's see. The next Black ancestor that we have is Ella Baker. Give light and people will find the way. Give light and people will find the way. Lucille Clifton. We have always loved each other. We have always loved each other. Essex Hemphill. I love myself enough to be who I am. I love myself enough to be who I am. The next Black ancestor is Sojourner Truth. I love this one too. Sojourner Truth is her affirmation. Sojourner Truth. Okay. Our next Black ancestor is Gwendolyn Brooks. I have hopes for myself. I have hopes for myself. Toni K. Bambara. Her affirmation is the most effective way to do it is to do it. The most effective way to do it is to do it. This one resonates especially today. I was so nervous about getting on this live stream, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's going to be a mess. What about my sound? Um, it's not going to come through. And like literally, this affirmation, the only way to do it is to do it. And that's exactly what's happening, right? I'm just doing it. Oh, Mahogany said her poem, We Cool is my favorite of Gwendolyn Brooks. Yeah, she has some really affirming and grounding poetry. Yeah. Okay. Our next Black ancestor is Melvin Dixon. His affirmation is breathe in, breathe out, remember us. Breathe in, breathe out, remember us. Thanks, Mahogany. I appreciate that. um, okay. Next, oh, that one jumped. That's funny. Okay. Um, our next Black ancestor is Pat Parker. Let me hold this way. It's Pat Parker. I love Pat Parker's poetry too. Um, turning the world all over. Turning the world all over. Okay. Our next Black ancestor is Fannie Lou Hamer. Fannie Lou Hamer. Sorry, y'all. Okay. Nobody's free until everybody's free. Nobody's free until everybody's free. Okay. And my favorite This person that's on my sweater, Octavia Butler. Let's see. Hers is God is change. God is change. Another one of my favorites for a lot of different reasons. Black ancestor Polly Murray. Did you know that Polly Murray was Catholic and named a saint, Saint Polly? Free to be holy, every breath a prayer. Free to be holy, every breath a prayer. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Yes, yes, yes. From Fannie Lou Hamer. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, Marsha P. Johnson, our next Black ancestor. Pay it no mind. I know this one by heart. Pay it no mind. Pay it no mind. Pay it no mind. Pay it no mind. I think I mentioned that I combined Zora Neale Hurston's Drenched in Light with Marsha P. Johnson's Pay It No Mind. So my affirmation is Drenched in Light, Pay It No Mind. Our next Black ancestor is Joseph Beam. Joseph Beam. Okay. And his is I dare myself to dream. I dare myself to dream. Okay. Our last Black ancestor oracle card is Anna Julia Cooper. Okay. Did you know that there's an Anna Julia Cooper Center in North Carolina, if I'm accurate about that? I think it's North Carolina. Melissa Harris Perry has something to do with that. Okay. And her affirmation is the world needs to hear her voice. The world needs to hear her voice. So those are the oracle cards from the Black Feminist Meditation series. And how I incorporate, I'll share a little bit about how I incorporate these in my practice, right? Because it's like, okay, those are beautiful oracle cards. What do you do with them, right? I do a lot of different things with these particular oracle cards. So they are amazing for exactly what we're doing today to spark creativity. So sometimes if, I want to do a creative project or just sit down and color, I'll have one of these kind of on the table and I'll just kind of meditate with the image, focus in on any of the kind of details of the card, right? And then kind of expand on that. So like the Sojourner Truth card, this one has a really beautiful heart, right in the center. So I may meditate on that heart. I might color hearts, incorporate hearts into whatever I'm drawing, right? Let's see, another really good one. One that has, okay, I'll do Harriet Tubman, right? So this one says, our bodies are right. It's got a lot of different in Canada. It's got a lot of detail in there, right? And you can focus on any of that creatively. Let's see what Mahogany says. Some of these people I've never heard of because I was asleep that day in Black History 101. Yeah, and so that's another kind of place related to the meditation series, but then also the oracle cards, right? Exposure to little known or unknown Black ancestors, right? So yeah, Mahogany, which Black ancestors hadn't you heard of before? Like that, yeah. Like there were a few in here for me, and I'll share that really quickly while that pops up. Um I've heard of Lucille Clifton before, but I hadn't really been exposed to any of her work. So Lucille Clifton is definitely one of those folks for me. Melvin Dixon. Melvin Dixon is another one that I didn't know prior to this. I know Claudia Jones. Um, yeah, I think Melvin Dixon and Lucille Clifton were really the only two. Um, the last one I showed, Anna Julia Cooper. Let's see. Ay, ay, ay. It's right here. You don't know who. Melvin Dixon. And then this is the last one that I showed was Anna Julia Cooper. Is that the one that you're talking about? That's what that card looks like. My depth perception is off, sorry. Um, but yeah, dang, you would have got a much higher test grade than me. Yeah, if we would have been tested on Black History folks. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these Black ancestors, my exposure prior to the meditation series is because of teaching gender and women's studies in that department and incorporating, a lot of I incorporate a lot of Black thought and feminist ideals into those classes. And so that's where that exposure comes from. Okay. Yeah. Melvin Dixon and Anna Julia Cooper. Yeah. That's pretty, I would say that I would anticipate that. Now, the other thing that I ask, and Mahogany, of course, you can definitely like chime in. I would love to know who which who do you know in here that's queer? There's so many queer folks, Black queer ancestors in here. Do you know which ones are queer? Yeah, I'm gonna pull them out. Okay, so I have the folks out that are queer, and that's another reason why I really love this deck. Is because there are quite a few Black ancestors in here that identified as queer. So June Jordan, Lorraine Hansberry, Pat Parker, Joseph Beam. Let me put this in the screen. Sorry. Joseph Beam, Essex Hemphill, Bayard Rustin, Marsha P. Johnson, Polly Murray, Audra Lord, and Mahogany is saying Zora Neale Hurston. Was Zora Neale Hurston queer? Now that's one that I didn't know. Yeah, yeah, Marsha P. Johnson. So yeah, all of these folks are queer and I love it. I love, that was incorporated. Oh, Zora Neale Hurston was bisexual. Okay, yeah, cool. Yeah, 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 yeah. I really appreciate how many folks were incorporated in this deck that identify, on the spectrum of LGBTQIA plus. Um, and so incorporating their affirmations into my daily practice was beautiful, and I greatly appreciate that opportunity. So yeah, that was primarily the oracle cards. The last thing that I wanted to do was actually read from the Combahee River Collective statement, give a little bit of history about that, read the second part because it's broken up into four parts, but I want to read the second part of that, and then we'll end. I hope that this has been, inspiring for your practice. Um, so yeah, let's. What did I do with that now? Let's see here. Just want to close this up like this, and then I'll clip it here. Okay. Now what am I doing? Combahee River. Okay. So the Combahee River collective statement came from the Combahee River Collective. And I'll just read a little bit of the history behind that. And then, like I said, I'll read the second part to that. Um, how does listening to this reading incorporate into a coloring space, right? So one of the things that I find um, as a place for creativity is reflecting on the words of our ancestors, folks that came before us. And so this reading in this space is meant to be an opportunity to reflect on those words, maybe draw out kind of what comes up for you based on the words. What do you visualize as I'm reading? Like you can capture that on your paper, on your tablet, or on your construction paper, whatever it is that you're using, right? So the Combahee River Collective. We are a collective of Black feminists who have been meeting together since 1974. During that time, we have been involved in the process of defining and clarifying our politics, while at the same time doing political work within our own group and in coalition with other progressive organizations and movements. The most general statement of our politics at the present time would be that we are actively committed to struggling against racial, sexual, heterosexual, and class oppression, and see as our particular task the development of integrated analysis and practice based upon the fact that major systems of oppression are interlocking. The synthesis of these oppressions creates the conditions of our lives. As Black women, We see Black feminism as the logical political movement to combat the manifold and simultaneous oppressions that all women of color face. We will discuss four major topics in the paper that follows: the genesis of contemporary Black feminism, what we believe, i.e., the specific province of our politics, the problems in organizing Black feminists, including a brief history of our collective, and Black feminist issues and practice. So, out of those four sections, the section that I'm going to read from is what we believe. Okay, so I'm going to flip to that part. All right. Okay. Above all else, our politics initially sprang from the shared belief that Black women are inherently valuable, that our liberation is a necessity, not as an adjunct to somebody else's may because of our need as human persons for autonomy. This may seem so obvious as to sound simplistic, but it is apparent that no other ostensible progressive movement has ever considered our specific oppression as a priority or worked seriously for the ending of that oppression. Merely naming the pejorative stereotypes attributed to Black women, i.e., mammy, matriarch, sapphire, whore, bulldagger, let alone cataloging the cruel, often murderous treatment we receive, indicates how little value has been placed upon our lives during 4 centuries of bondage in the Western Hemisphere. We realize that the only people who care enough about us to work consistently for our liberation are us. Our politics evolved from a healthy love for ourselves, our sisters, and our community, which allows us to continue our struggle and work. This focusing upon our own oppression is embodied in the concept of identity politics. We believe that the most profound and potentially most radical politics come directly out of our own identity, as opposed to working to end somebody else's oppression. In the case of Black women, this is particularly repugnant, dangerous, threatening, and therefore revolutionary concept because it is obvious from looking at all political movements that have preceded us that anyone is more worthy of liberation than ourselves. We reject pedestals, queenhood, and walking 10 paces behind. To be recognized as human, levelly human, is enough. We believe that sexual politics under patriarchy is as pervasive in Black women's lives as are the politics of class and race. We also find it difficult to separate race from class, from sex oppression, because in our lives, they are most often experienced simultaneously. We know that there is such a thing as racial and sexual oppression, which is neither solely racial nor solely sexual. An example, the history of rape of Black women by white men as a weapon of political repression. Although we are feminists and lesbians, we feel solidarity with progressive Black men and do not advocate the fractionalization that white women who are separatists demand. Our situation as Black people necessitates that we have solidarity around the fact of race, which white women, of course, do not need to have with white men unless it is their negative solidarity as racial oppressors. We struggle together with Black men against racism while we also struggle with Black men about sexism. We realize that the liberation of all oppressed peoples necessitates the destruction of the political economic systems of capitalism and imperialism, as well as patriarchy. We are socialists because we believe that work must be organized for the collective benefit of those who do the work and create the products, and not for the profit of the bosses. Material resources must be equally distributed among those who create these resources. We are not convinced, however, that a socialist revolution that is not also a feminist and anti-racist revolution will guarantee our liberation. We have arrived at the necessity for developing an understanding of class relationships that takes into account the specific class position of Black women who are generally marginal in the labor force. While at this particular time, some of us are temporarily viewed as doubly desired tokens at white collar and professional levels. We need to articulate the real class situation of persons who are not merely raceless, sexless workers, but for whom racial and sexual oppression are significant determinants in their working economic lives. Although we are in essential agreement with Marx's theory as it applied to the very specific economic relationships he analyzed, we know that his analysis must be extended further in order for us to understand our specific economic situation as Black women. A political contribution which we feel we have already made is the expansion of the feminist principle that the personal is political. In our consciousness raising sessions, for example, we have in many ways gone beyond white women's revelations because we are dealing with the implications of race and class as well as sex. Even our Black women's style of talking, testifying in Black language about what we have experienced has a resonance that is both cultural and political. We have spent a great deal of energy delving into the cultural and experiential nature of our oppression out of necessity, because none of these matters has ever been looked at before. No one before has ever examined the multi-layered texture of Black women's lives. An example of this kind of revelation, conceptualization, occurred at a meeting as we discussed the ways in which our early intellectual interests had been attacked by our peers, particularly Black males. We discovered that all of us, because we were smart, had also been considered ugly, and an example, smart ugly. Smart ugly crystallized the way in which most of us have been forced to develop our intellects at great cost to our social lives. The sanctions in the Black and white communities against Black women thinkers is comparatively much higher than for white women, particularly ones from the educated, middle, and upper classes. As we have already stated, we reject the stance of lesbian separatism because it is not a viable political analysis or strategy for us. It leaves out far too much and far too many people, particularly Black men, women, and children. We have a great deal of criticism and loathing for what men have been socialized to be in this society, what they support, how they act, and how they oppress. But we do not have the misguided notion that this is their maleness per se, i.e., their biological maleness that makes them what they are. As Black women, we find any type of biological determinism a particularly dangerous and reactionary basis upon which to build a politic. We must also question whether lesbian separatism is an adequate and progressive political analysis and strategy, even for those who practice it, since it so completely denies any but the sexual sources of women's oppressions, negating the facts of class and race. Okay, so that's the second part of the Combahee River Collective statement. If you Google it, you can find access to it in its entirety. I strongly suggest like reading the entire statement. I think it is a catalyst for radicalizing a lot of folks within certain identities. I think it is a beautiful foundation to discuss movement work as well, and also identity. I'll share that one of the other parts that I enjoy to read is the third part, which is related to problems in organizing Black feminists. And then the last part, which is Black feminist issues and projects, right? I mean, it's amazing in its entirety. But those are usually the three sections that I kind of go back and forth between whenever I want to read from this particular statement. Let's see, Mahogany, you said teach sister, and then say it louder for the people in the back. Yeah, I really love the statement, because like I mentioned, it just gives a really good foundation for radicalizing perspective around a lot of these topics. It also gives context for what the struggle looked like in the 70s. Have we really come far? What do our movement spaces look like now? Has there been any type of advancement around those things? So, yeah, I greatly appreciate your time. I greatly appreciate you just sticking in there with me through this entire um, live stream opportunity, coloring space. I hope that there were places that resonated throughout this. You know that you can come back and visit this video and check in and use this as a place to expand on a creative project if you like. You're welcome to come back to this video and kind of check in on some of the Black ancestors that I mentioned, revisit some of their affirmations. And yeah, all of the information related to mobile homecoming is in the description box below. Um, oh, I think I may have even linked the Combahee River collective statement in the description box below too. So check that first if you come back and you're interested in that. And yeah, until the next time, which will probably be soon, because I think I really enjoyed how this went today. So thank you all for being here. Thank you, Mahogany, for your support and just like being here to help me through this and check in. And yeah, I'll see you all next time. Thank you.